And, and if you know me, I love interaction. So there's a microphone, I think. And whenever you have a conversation, a question, that is, you just put your hand up, someone will bring the microphone to you, and you can ask a question. So we're gonna have some interaction. I think we're gonna go all the way up until lunchtime. Am I correct? Yes. In between, we will have a short break, and then we will come back and we will close off. So anything at all related to health and safety, OSHA, your safety and health at work, like Comrade says, I'm lecturing the area of emergency management. The hurricane season is coming up, and you want to know what to do in your workplace to prepare for that. We can talk about that. You mentioned as well, I lecture in the area of terrorism. You think that's an issue for you in your workplace? We can talk about that. So we're going to talk about anything health and safety pertaining to you and your welfare at work. I'll try not to stand up in front of the projector so you can see the screen. So yes, I'm a safety and health inspector at the agency. And what does OSHA do? OSHA enforces the Occupational Safety and Health Act in Trinidad and Tobago. And there's a number of ways by which we do that. We do that through inspection program where we establishments like where you work and we conduct inspections, whether it is a planned inspection, an unplanned inspection, whether it's an inspection based on an accident. Okay, and we also conduct accident investigation. So if you have an accident at work, OSHA by law will come into your establishment and investigate that accident. We determine liability as it relates to the Occupational Safety and Health Act. We identify the violations coming out of the OSHA Act, and we can take that matter and prosecute in the court of law, whether it is the employer or the person who may have caused the accident, being that they fail to follow certain policies and guidelines as set out in the law. Those are questions you can ask as well. We also take complaints. So you're working at an establishment and you feel like your health and safety rights are being violated. You feel like you're working in an unsafe condition. You can then call OSHA, lodge a complaint at 623 OSHA. Someone will answer your phone 24 hours for this 7 days a week. Well, that comes with some condition, of course. I don't know if someone will answer the phone 2 o'clock this morning, but chances are they will. So you can call 24 hours a day. You love your complaint because some of us work in night, overnight shift. And someone will take your call, it would be recorded, and in short order, within 2 to 3 days, someone will come to your establishment and investigate that complaint. So that is what OSHA does. If we recognize that there are unsafe conditions in the workplace that need to be addressed immediately, we follow the law where we can issue prohibition notices or improvement notices according to the condition which we observed at the time of the inspection or the visit. Okay? So without any much more delay, we will get into our presentation. I'm going to shift a little bit from the presentation, not too far, because we have some additional time, like we said. Okay, so just to start off, what is the purpose of us here today? And this presentation is going to introduce you to the element of safety and health as it is applicable in the workplace. Safety and health in the workplace. It's going to help us sensitize you on issues surrounding safety and health in your workplace. Educate you on why, on what you can do to generate awareness within your workplace and ensure that safety becomes a priority. And the priority there is a very important one. So personally for me, right, you know, we have a thing to say, this is priority number 1, and that is priority number 2. I don't necessarily like that too, okay? And why I don't personally like the word priority when it speaks about health and safety, because priority changes depending on the season that you're in, okay? So for example, if you're working in a supermarket all year, your priority might be putting out stock, getting your stock to sell, and you take into consideration safety. But when it comes to Christmas, what is the priority? Generate as much sale as possible. So all of a sudden, safety kind of shift down to number two and number three, and sales going up to number one. So priority, I will always replace that with culture. Culture of health and safety. I need to establish a culture of health and safety. It doesn't matter what your priority is, your safety culture will always remain. Okay? We're going to highlight how you can play a part as trade union with officers in working together with OSHA to secure a safer environment. So that's where you can ask questions and answer those questions as best as possible, how you can look at OSHA and your employer to look at safety and health in the workplace. And one thing that we understand about unionism is that it can be antagonistic. Am I correct? There can always be a lot of friction. And why that is understandable, that don't have to be the same for health and safety. You don't want to have an antagonistic approach when you're dealing with health and safety. You want to have a collaborative approach when you're dealing with health and safety. So you go back to the point of culture. So if you have a culture of health and safety in your workplace, then you remove that element of antagonism and that antagonistic behavior. And then you focus on making a safer working environment. So you don't have people sabotaging the workplace. You don't have people doing things to make the workplace unsafe because they want to make a point where unionism is concerned. And I understand the antagonistic nature in unionism, but we have to remove that when we talk about health and safety because we're dealing with the lives and limbs and general welfare of persons while at work. Because one accident, and that can remove the livelihood of you and your family, especially if your family depends on you going to work on a daily basis and bringing an income. And some of us may understand that more than others. So we have some learning outcomes that we want to achieve today. And at the end of this presentation, I want to be able to have a greater appreciation for safety and health in the workplace and your role as it relates to health, that safety and health in the workplace. Understand and differentiate between safety, hazard, and risk, and how they are applied in the workplace. Very often you hear people mix up hazard and risk, and we want to avoid some of those misconceptions of what is a hazard and what is a risk. So you identify a hazard and you know the risk that is likely to come out of that hazard. And a quote that I like, right? A quote that I came across some time ago, and I really like it. It says, because I have to apply it for me, and I hope you find some value in it. Learning to manage your attitude is one of the most important steps you can take towards achieving your greatest potential. If you learn to manage your attitude, you can become so much more better at what you do. You know, we go back to the point of being antagonistic. When you read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, it tells you catch more flies with honey than you would with gall, right? And that comes down to your attitude. You know, sometimes talk about smiling, how important it is to smile on a daily basis, and how much more approachable you would be as opposed to someone who has a frown on their face. How important it is to remember people's names and call them by their name. Hey, Comrade Archibald, how are you doing? You know? Or some people may have a nickname for me. Safety. Where you seeing, brother? That generates relationship. How you talk to your supervisor and manager on a daily basis would create an environment where people want to work with you, right? And some of us may know that very well. How we approach a situation on a daily basis will determine the outcome that we get when we try to get health and safety things done in the workplace. Okay? And all of you here, while you may not be in some level of executive management, you are involved in management in some way. And we're going to marry safety leadership and health in the workplace. So we're going to look at leadership and safety in the workplace and that's going to work and how you can adopt a leadership approach for working safely in your workplace. So all of that we're going to look at today. So we have a packed program carefully. And like you said, we can go into any other area as you see fit as related to safety and health in the workplace. All right, so without any delay, we're going to talk about safety. And the first question for you guys, I'm going to ask the first question is, what is safety? Anybody know what is safety? Anybody think they know what is safety? We hear this terminology all the time. Anybody want to answer again? Yes, this one was intended. Say that again, please. Protection from danger. Yes. Yes, protection from danger. That is a very good point. Anyone else want to say anything else? I hear somebody was saying avoiding something. Avoiding injury, yeah. Yes, that's a very good point. Avoiding injury. Talk about safety and health in the industry. And what does it say here? It says that it is freedom from anything that can cause harm. Freedom from anything that can cause harm. So if you're working in an environment that are hazardous, then you need to be free from that hazard that can potentially cause harm to you. So when we hear about safety, and we hear about safety in any environment, that is exactly what it is we are trying to achieve. And there are multiple approaches that we take to achieve this freedom from anything that can cause harm. Anything. He didn't say specifically say one thing, but anything. So whether it be a violent person, you need to be free from that person. Whether it be a broken chair, you need to be still free of that broken chair. Or whether it be a natural disaster, fire, hurricane, whatever the case may be, you need to be free from that. So the next question is, so what are some things in the workplace that can cause harm? Anybody? What are some things in the workplace that can cause harm? I gave some examples just now. A deranged person, faulty chair, natural disaster, anything else. In your workplace, what are some things in your workplace? Feel on the beach? Yes, feel on the beach. A faulty or frayed electrical cord. That is a really significant one. Very often when we go as inspectors and we go to establishment and we examine your workplace, we will look at the tools and equipment that you're using to see if they're frayed. Because if you have a frayed electrical cord and you touch that while it's plugging, you can be electrocuted, especially if there's water on the floor. Or you're working with a wrong other metal and that frayed comes into contact with a metal and you touch that metal at the same time that frayed wire is touching on metal, you can be electrocuted. And if you're electrocuted, it means that you would die. So that is how serious that is. So faulty electrical cords. Anything else? Management is all right. That's where the answer. I'm going to switch fast from there to management. What about management is the hazard? Because management have one objective is to get the most production at the lowest possible pay, and employee is to get the highest pay with the lowest possible production. So management to pay employees a hazard at the same time, right? Am I correct? Is that what it is? So yeah, so management from your perspective, I can take that. So it says so working at height. What about working at height? Some of us we work on ladders. Even in our workplaces, working on ladders. We tell ourselves we can take it for granted. Some years ago, I'm going to give you one of my safety thoughts. Some years ago, I was working at an establishment, and I was a safety person. This is my confession. And there was a light, and the neighbor was complaining about the lighting. So I was trying to get the maintenance guy to fix it because it was a real button. In the night, it was someone really bright and shine straight into the person bedroom window. So I tried to get the maintenance person to fix it, and they didn't fix it at all. So I took a ladder and I went to just adjust it. And apparently I didn't put the foot on the ladder properly. And I went up on the ladder, and as I reached up and stretched to touch the light, the whole ladder comes sliding down. That's that's my safety for them. And that's a valuable lesson I learned on the day. And other persons around saw me when I fell. They're like, that's me safety, man. You just fell from the ladder. So that was a cultural shock to everybody. Else. I had to go and build up my reputation from there. Never did something like that ever again. So ladder, looking at heights. I didn't suffer any injury. I got some pieces on my hand. But that was all that there was to it. So it could have been worse. Let me say that. It could have been worse. So that's my confession. And I know the value of working on heights using ladders and why we need to have procedures for working at heights. Why you consider safety. And anybody know at what height do you start to in all of your safety procedures, your harness, your tire, and safety height procedures at what height? 6 feet. Yes, from the time you reach 6 feet, you must put all of your safety precautions in place because falling from height at 6 feet means you can die. So if OSHA comes into your workplace and we see that you're working on height and you do not have procedures in place to protect employees, that's a process we can prohibit all work at height at your establishment. And I have a reputation for prohibiting work at height, especially if I see, because you can naturally see the imminent danger. Especially in the workplace where you have forklift, anybody working here with forklift, and you have those forklift baskets that you connect to the forklift, and you elevate persons to work on height. And when you look at some of those baskets, they are rickety, as you would say. They all piece together. Nothing tying the basket to the forklift, and you have the forklift driving, and if the matter breaks, the basket can slide off, and the person in the basket and everything can something down after. Those are processes that we consider to be very unsafe and can cause persons to lose their life. So we will prohibit such operations until you put your proper systems in place to treat with that. So those are things that you need to look out for in the workplace, right? Using a defective chair. First, chairs have lifespan. Chairs become defective after a while. You know, in some places they have chairs in there from since 19 how long, right? That they're using, and these chairs can break and cause injuries. We have a lot of accidents that we investigate as OSHA with broken chairs that cause injuries to persons. So one of the things that person may take for granted is that you need to develop a chair inspection program where probably on a weekly basis or however often you choose, because at OSHA, we don't tell you how to do your work. We just judge your work to see if it's suitable and sufficient. So you need to develop a chair inspection program where you get on a weekly basis, you come and look at all of your chairs and you ensure that they are safe for person to sit on. In offices, we have chairs like these and the hydrolysis bar to come and you sit on it and it drops. A person that might be heavy set that can cause serious lumbar problems, right? So these are things that you need to look out for in your workplaces. You're part of a health and safety committee, I presume, and as part of a safety and health committee, you have a responsibility to look at those. Where you have localized lighting, where you're working in a specific area and you need that specific area to have a certain amount of lumen. So in your workplaces, you need to ensure that you have proper lighting for yourself. So you may have general lighting like this, but I might be doing some work on this table and I need additional lighting. So you need to, as an employer, not your fault, the employer needs to ensure that they have proper lighting for the person working on that table, knowing that the general lighting in this area is not sufficient for the work being done on the table. You also need to have proper lighting. For example, if you have a power outage and you need to evacuate, you need to have emergency backup lighting so people can see exactly where they are going. on how they're going to exit the building. Because failure to have proper lighting can lead to a delayed response to emergency. And a delayed response to emergencies can mean can be the difference between life and death. There are many videos. If you look at them on YouTube, you see if you light this chair on fire, it will take just about 3 minutes for this entire building to go up in flames. So that's why we said when you have a fire and doing a drill and you need to evacuate, you need to do so in under 2 minutes, right? So that is why we look at those things as safety and health inspectors, and you have a responsibility to look at that as safety and health committee members, union members, and bring it to management attention so it can be addressed. So the question is, we said freedom from anything that can cause harm. So can we be entirely free? Can we be entirely free? No, I'm hearing a resounding no. And why do you think we can't be entirely free? You saying that? You need to control. Right, you need to have additional controls, yes. Anything else? Why we can't be entirely free? We cannot be entirely free. And the answer is no. No, we can't be entirely free because there will always be residual risk. Risks are and hazards are inherent within the work that you do. They are just part of what you do. So that's why you can't be entirely free if you're driving on the road, right? That's why you have an insurance policy. You might be the safest driver, but you can't be entirely free. You might take your time going on the road, and next man comes from nowhere and running to you. That's why you have insurance. You might be doing things safe. Like I said, you sit on a chair and that chair breaks. You might have done an inspection on the chair and was okay. And you sit on a chair and you turn and then it breaks with you. So you can't get anything. And this is why we manage risk in the workplace, or we transfer risk, we mitigate risk, we do different things with risk in the workplace. And those who create risk must manage it. Who creates risk? Who creates risk? The worker? Not entirely. Management is the one who creates risk because they put you in a place to work, right? So management of the organization, but yes, you have a responsibility here, and I'm going to tell you what your responsibility is just now. When we look at the look at the general duties of the employer, we talk about 6-A, having system policies and procedures in place to manage safety and health in the workplace. We talk about 6-B, where you look at substance articles. So if you deal with chemicals, hazardous chemicals, you must put systems and policies in place to treat with that. Then we talk about 6-C, where we talk about personal protective equipment. You must provide PPE for persons because you're putting them in an environment where they're going to be working unsafe. So you must provide those things for your employees. We also talk about 6-D, communication, information, instruction, and training. If you put me to work in a location that I might be unfamiliar with, and especially with change management, I'm accustomed to work in the communications department, and then you put me to work in accounts department. I got change, and you must have some change management approach. So you must have some communication, some information, instruction. How am I going to work in this environment? So management creates risk, so management must manage risk. As employees, we talk about Section 10, right? Under the USH Act, where you have a duty of care for your safety and the safety of those that may be affected by your unsafe act or omission to act. So if you're a supervisor, you have a duty of care to ensure the safety and health of the person that works under you, right? If you as the main tradesman doing some work and you want to cut in a piece of wood and you have a laborer below mixing water and you're above the man head cutting the piece of wood, right? You see those things. And then when you cut it with the piece of wood falls from under the man on his head. Whose fault is that? Is that the management fault or is that your fault? It's your fault. So you have a duty of care. So once management provides you with all those things we call it on a state 6 to on the 6 to 8, B, C, and D, you provide all of that, and you still go and do something crazy and cause injury to yourself or someone else. You're responsible. So in an accident investigation, OSHA will charge the management and they will charge you, right? And the management will tell you find your own lawyer. So hope you have money. So that is why it's important for you to work safe for yourself and for those next to you. So if you create risk, you must manage the risk. The greater emphasis on the employer and then on the employee. So long as the management do what they're supposed to do, then you would be absolved in that regard. Okay? So let me know when you get break, okay? All right. So we move on. So what did I do? So we talk about safety. So next thing is a hazard. Anybody know what a hazard? This is where it becomes tricky, hazard and risk. Yes. Anything that is likely to cause harm. Say no more. Right? Anything with the potential to cause harm. Anything. So if I have the potential to cause harm to you, then I'm a hazard. If the neighbor dog is a potential to cause harm to you, that is a hazard, right? But we're talking about safety and health in the workplace. Anything with the potential to cause harm. Examples of hazards: poor lighting, worker attack, a defective chair, poor housekeeping. One of the things that people take for granted for the most is poor housekeeping. If you're working in an environment and you have all the policies and procedures in place, you have all the systems in place, but your place is dirty, it is cramped, and it is unsafe to work in, you're going to surely have some type of accident. And when we look at our health and safety and what we can use to give a notice, it says if the employer has I don't have the act in front of me, but if the environment is in such a condition that if you leave it to continue like that, it is going to cause a harm or injury to someone, then we can issue an enforcement notice. And poor housekeeping is one of that. Poor housekeeping, you might be working in a woodworking shop and you don't have any LED system or you don't have any dilution ventilation, and there's a lot of dust in that environment. Persons are exposed to respiratory problems, right? You have pieces of wood on the ground and trip and fall. You operate in a forklift.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
A piece of wood or
The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
There's a certain level of vibration that comes to the body. That in itself will get a pain in your leg, pain in your lower back. So anything with the potential to cause harm, we have to understand that, right? So anything else again you think is a hazard in the workplace? Management, as we get our own ready. Yes, I've seen a hand. Defective forklift, yes. And that is a very significant thing. That is something we issue improvement notice on. If you have, when we talk about preventative maintenance in the workplace, if you have tools, equipment, such as forklifts, lifting devices, and the law requires you to certify your lifting devices on an annual basis. And those are including forklifts, because forklifts elevate things aside. It could be chain blocks and even those lifts, right? Goods lifts. You have to certify those on an annual basis. So if you have those tools and equipment you work with that in your workplace, you don't maintain them, you don't service them, what is eventually going to happen? They're going to lead to some type of accident or some type of breakdown. Two things. One, you may have a breakdown, and management will understand that if you have a breakdown, you have loss in production. If you have loss in production, you have loss in income. And then you have loss in income. They might say, well, you can't pay some people this month. They have delayed salary, then you have disgruntled workers, and disgruntled workers may lead to unsafe environment. So servicing, is a slippery slope that we can go all the way down to the bottom of the slope. So that is one of the areas that you have to take into consideration as well. Servicing and maintaining your equipment and having them certified on an annual basis. We come to your environment and you're not doing that, then we can issue an improvement notice. Failing to comply with improvement notice, then we can prosecute you in the court of law. That's the approach that we can take at OSHA. So we have to understand that if you have air pressure containers, compressors, you must certify that on an annual basis. And you must do so by a certified engineer. Not anybody who say, I can certify this. You must be a registered engineer to certify your APC, because those APCs can explode, right? Your compressor, you may take it for granted, because there are instances where those things explode in Trinidad already, and you must certify them on an annual basis, in which we would issue an improvement notice or a prohibition notice based on the condition that we see at the time of the inspection. Okay, so these are things that we do at OSHA. So exposure to hazards will lead to risk, and risk being realized will lead to accident or incident. Right? Accident, one that involves harm, injury to person, incident, maybe like a fire that burns down property. And when we talk about accident, incident, and protection, we're talking about people first, property second, and then information. So we need to protect people, property, and information, because if your information is leaked, you work in an organization, and that information is leaked, then person has all of your information, so you need to protect that. Person can get access to your trade secrets, you need to protect that. Your property, if you're working, if this building burns down, you don't have a replace, person is out of a job. One of the things that people take for granted is you must be certified by the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Services, right? And one of the reasons why you need to be certified by the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Services at best practice every 2 years is because it's to ensure that you have all of your systems, policies and procedures in place to facilitate means of escape. You need to have systems in place, so it means that your exits are clear and suitable. It means that you have firefighting equipment. It means that you have proper lighting, and it also means that you have audible alarm systems. And all of these are things that the fire services will look at, and they will ensure that those things are safe. And if those things are in place, then it means that you are equipped to deal with a fire emergency whenever it happens. Failing which, you have a fire and you can lose your business. On an annual basis, I would estimate that we have anywhere between 12 to about 20 fires on an annual basis. That is my, based on, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but that is how regularly business going down and shut that. Right? On an annual basis. We may have at least one fire on average per month. These are what we have to investigate as OSHA inspectors. You don't necessarily like to do. It could be very frustrating if your business is burned down, your business starts burning down 2 o'clock in the evening, and an inspector knows you finish it 4 o'clock, and you call him to go and investigate a fire, that a business starts burning down, and he's going to be there till 8 o'clock in the night. That's the human service your comrade was talking about, that the OSHA inspector has to do. And then you have to go back the following day to get investigative report, to take statements, and to get fire services report, and those things. So that is why we want it to be safety compliant. We are involved in all aspects of safety in Trinidad and Tobago. And we don't make money. We try to avoid people getting injured, people getting sick, so they have to go to the hospital and utilizing the resources. We understand the social impact of accident in the workplace, because if the main breadwinner of a family is seriously injured, then it means that that family structure is significantly interrupted, and the ability for that family to take care of itself. And social problems may come up because of that. So those are things that we look to treat with. There is dealing with the psychosocial aspect of family and psychosocial aspect of working in an environment. If I'm working in an environment and I get my hand cut on a saw, you think I want to go back and work on that saw that I got my hand cut on? Now that psychosocial impact, some people may take it for granted. But every time I see a saw, I get scared. So now you may have to move me to a different area that I'm not scared to work in. So that's why we have to look at safety seriously in the workplace. So we talk about risk. What is risk? We just look a little bit. We talked about exposure to hazards will lead to risk, and risk being realized will lead to an accident incident. Okay, right? So what is risk? Everybody know what is risk? That's a hazard. That's a hazard. Using a drill without handles, using it unsafely is the hazard. Anybody else? Probability of the likelihood of an accident to happen. Okay, anybody else have any question? That is partially correct. If this was an exam, they'll give you 60%. That is a hazard, right? Yeah, the likelihood of harm being realized, right? So, well, if you're working in an environment that is unsafe, what is the possibility? What could happen for the person that the guy who said 60%? Think this guy there who saw. What is likely to happen if you're working in that unsafe environment? What is likely to happen? Huh? You sustain an injury, right? And the likelihood of you sustaining that injury is the risk. The extent, the severity of the injury is the risk. So if you're working in an unsafe environment, right, and you sustain an injury, that injury that you sustain is the risk. The severity of the injury, right? So it could be a minor injury, it could be a severe injury. So the potential outcome of an hazard when realized. So you know what the hazard is. The hazard might be slip and fall. You have water on the floor, and you can slip in and fall in that water. What is the likely outcome of slipping and falling in that water? What is the most severe outcome? Right, you break your back. That is the risk, a broken back. Right? So, so risk can be some idea we talk about when you multiply the likelihood, or we talk about the possibility multiplied by the severity. And this way talk about high, medium, low. Okay? So we have a risk matrix. Oh, let me go back. So after this one, we'll sample everything here on this one, and then we'll take a short break. So we have a risk matrix here. I can't see it properly. This is because of the projector. But this area here we talk about having low risk, right? Low risk here. And then we talk about, you see where we have moderate risk, high risk, and we talk about extreme risk. And it's all depending on the hazard and how the hazard interacts with the person in the workplace, how you interact with the hazard in the workplace. If you have a hazard in the workplace and you have very little interaction with that hazard, then your risk is going to be low. If you have a hazard in the workplace and you interact with that hazard as part of your function, then that hazard could be high. So, for example, you work with certain types of chemicals. There are some types of chemical I remember I went to an establishment. The person was just being funny, but they were being serious at the same time. They say if you look at that chemical too hard, you could die. Right? That is how serious that chemical is that they're working with. if you look at it too hard, you could die. So I don't have to interact with the chemical. I'm here to do an inspection. But because I'm there, it means that I am exposed to a potential hazard that the risk, if the hazard is to be realized, I could die. So we look at this on risk matrix 10. The person who works in that environment every day is at a greater exposure than I am. So we talk on the risk matrix here, we see low, moderate, high, extreme. Extreme is the red. When I went there, and when the guy made the joke, and when he was serious at the statement, I stayed far. I didn't go into the environment. I looked at their policies and procedures to manage those chemicals. So I was at somewhat of a low risk because I took control measures to protect me. So in an environment that you're working and you are exposed to risk and hazard, and there is no control measures, then it means that your exposure is high and you can die. So when you go into the risk and you are exposed to unmitigated risk, your likelihood of being exposed is high, and the possibility, the consequences is also high. And if you're within an environment and you are in that red, OSHA comes in and we look at that, which we will issue a prohibition notice for that process. Okay? We will look at it, we will look at your risk assessment. Right? We all understand what is a risk assessment. And the risk assessment is what we look at all of your significant hazards in the workplace. And when you look at all those significant hazards and we see the control measures that you say you put in place, we also look and see if those controls are actually in place. And based on that, we determine the suitability and sufficiency of your controls and determine whether it is safe to work in that environment. That's what we do. We don't just take the employer's goods just like that. We go to many places and people say, yeah, we do this, we do that. And when we examine what we do, what you really have is a paper plan syndrome. You have a paper that you say you have this, but in actuality, in practice, you have nothing. Right? You just have a paper say for regulators and for persons who come in and say, yeah, this is what we have. So this is what we do here. And we will take a break now, a 15-minute break. And when we come back, we'll talk about refusal to work and how this applies to refusal to work in the workplace. And we can have many questions on that as well. So we'll take a 15-minute break right now. For this segment, what we will do, we have another half-hour presentation. And then for the last half hour, we have some questions and answers. So any questions you have, we will you can ask the questions and we have an open floor discussion. Okay, so as person comes back in, we would start. So before we took the break, we were talking about risk. We look at risk being low, medium, or high. And in this case, we look at the risk matrix and we talk about low, moderate, high, extreme. And when we talk about in an environment where you as an employee is exposed to risk, you have to measure your safety and your health in your workplace. And under the Occupational Safety and Health Act, we have as an employee have to, or you as an employee have to recognize danger, right? And recognizing dangerous work, the OSH Act under Section 15 stipulates where you as an employee can refuse to work. And there are categories of employees who cannot refuse to work. Right? Like, for example, police officers, army, persons who work in hospital staff. I'm not noticing any one of you falls into that category. So you as an employee have the right to refuse dangerous work where you recognize it. And this is verbatim from an an employee may refuse to work or do particular work when he has sufficient reason to believe that, and these are all the conditions there. There is serious and imminent danger to himself, unusual circumstances have arisen where that can cause health. If you're operating a machine or plant device or anything to operate and nothing can cause danger, then you can refuse to work with that piece of equipment. The physical condition of your workplace, we talk about housekeeping and or other. If you can't think that your workplace is in such a condition that you can't work in that environment without injuring yourself, then you can refuse to work. Right? And then be here, any machine, plant, device, or thing you want to operate, and you find it in such a condition that you can't operate it without causing injury to yourself or to others, then you can refuse to work. Okay? How does refusal to work go? We get a lot of refusal to work approaches, especially from schools. So generally, tutor here, so this is NUGFW. So we get a lot of refusal to work from school. Right? That's one area we get refusal to work from. So you have to understand that if you're in a workplace and you think you're exposed to danger, then you have the right to refuse. Refusal to work, very important. Don't feel staying home. Right? It's very important to understand that refusing to work, don't mean you're going to sit down and say, boss, I refusing to work, so I'm not coming to work today. Right? That is not what it is. Refusing to work means you go to work, you identify any one of these conditions here, you then inform your management of the condition, right? And through your safety and health committee, if you have one of that in place, you inform them of the condition that exists and the reason why you refuse it to work. You best practice is that you put that in the writing and you sign and you give it to them and you say, and now your management must take reasonable steps to look at what you are complaining about and address that matter. In environments where you have a safety and health committee, the safety and health committee, let me go down here. Right? So
you're not the one that created yourself.
the employer has a duty and function first to work with the employer to resolve the safety and health issues in the workplace, and where this cannot be achieved, amicably, Then at this point, we come to OSHA. And OSHA now, you said you have a refusal to work, OSHA must come within 24 hours. So once you report that matter to OSHA, we drop everything that we do and we come straight to you and address it within 24 hours. And we address it immediately. No. Management has to put you in a safe place. And while you are in that safe place, OSHA will come in, investigate, and make a determination whether it is justified or not. And the law says the management cannot do anything to you as a worker what you're refusing to do, and it is a justifiable complaint that you have. Yes. Just in the event that they say Comrade refuses to do some sort of job, and he knows goes on his own, right? And get injured. It come back to now, once our refusal is initiated, according to the act, nobody else supposed to go and carry out the job. And nobody else. I don't have the act in front of me, but I don't think it says that. You know, it says to the machine. Nobody else can do and operate that machine until I investigate is done. Bring that to the action. What part of the act says that? I have to see that section. The thing is, if when you're refusing to work with a particular machine or in a condition, the employer has the right and responsibility to put you in a safe place while you're refusing to work. I've seen someone has their hand up in the back there. So they put you in a safe place. They can't tell you go and work with the equipment, right? So until the Safety and Health Committee investigate the matter. After the Safety and Health Committee investigate the matter and come to a conclusion, one of two things could happen. They could say the issue was resolved, you're satisfied, then you go back to it. They could say the issue is not resolved and they fix it and they change the process. Or they could say the issue is resolved and you are not satisfied with that the issue is resolved and they tell you, yes, go back to it. At that point, you come to OSHA. OSHA comes to your establishment within 24 hours and investigate the matter. And we have to provide a report within 24 hours in writing to the person who is refusing to work. So if you have 10 people refusing to work, you have to provide in writing to the 10 persons the outcome.
Excuse, in a condition, in a position where, like in corporation, right, with the truck, right, worker will defect the truck, right, and say, well, they say working breaks, whatever the case may be. There's some cases where a next worker says, nah, that is not a scene. And he will work the truck and show the boss that it's not a problem. And then the worker who defect it is end up getting penalized or victimized. And then when they come see you, it look like the worker doesn't want to do the job and the truck is working. Wait in a case like that.
You come to OSHA. You come to OSHA because a truck is a place of work. So you could say this truck is dangerous and I'm not working with it. Not because a truck moves and starts and go from point A to point B, means the truck is safe, you know. It could be the brakes ain't working, it's an oil leak, and it could be unsafe, and the next person might decide to do it because they want that's their feeling. But you come to OSHA, we look at the issue. We are not truck experts, so we may bring transport commission with us to do an inspection of the vehicle, and we determine whether the vehicle is safe to use and is roadworthy. So even if someone decides they're going to use it, you stand your ground and you report the matter to OSHA because you always have people like that. Yeah. Right. Yes, I'm familiar with that. So if you come to the OSHA And the inspector at that point in time gave the ruling and said, it is safe to work or it is not safe to work. The inspector may say it is safe to work, go back to work, but you could still be unsatisfied. Then you report it, and this is where the chief inspector will then investigate the matter. And while that chief inspector is investigating the matter, then that is at that point, no one can use it until that matter is resolved. If you're still dissatisfied with the ruling of the chief inspector, then the final recourse is in the industrial court. Okay? Yes, pending. Yes, so once the chief inspector is investigated, then you can't use the equipment because there is a perception of imminent danger, right? And that's what, and if there's a perception of imminent danger, then you can't put someone in an environment where there's a perception of imminent danger. So you refuse to work on someone before OSHA comes, someone decided going there to work. You don't have no much control over that. But when OSHA comes in, OSHA will now make a determination, and like you said, they have to come within 24 hours. And once you make a determination, that will stand, unless you want to take it further, either way. The health and safety inspectors, yes, you tell them not to use it, and you bring that to management. But if they choose to use it, then that is on them until OSHA comes in and play a role, right? I can't tell you what a person will or will not do while you waiting an investigation. But once OSHA comes in and make a ruling, then that is what would be the ruling that will stand.
Someone gave me a question to ask. They want to know in a situation where they work in an office space and it will be properly ventilated, meaning that no fans, no AC or anything. Broken tiles on the ground, what are they to do?
What are they to do? At that point, you bring the concerns to your management and safety and health committee, right? Like the first port of call is to always work with your employer to resolve the matter. You don't say if you have a quarrel in house, deal with it in house first. Then if you can't seem to resolve it in house, that's where OSHA comes in. So we said here, the OSHA can strike archive, right? Meaning it involves the employer, the employee representative, and the regulator. So it's always best to deal with the matter inside first. If you can't get the matter addressed inside, then you come to OSHA. So you have poor ventilation and poor housekeeping, poor working conditions. You call OSHA at 623 OSHA, and someone take your complaint, and then an inspector will come and investigate the matter and make a determination on the condition of work. And then that report will then go to your employers, and who will then pass it on to your safety and health committee to address it accordingly. We only give time frame to rectify problems if we give in that is mandatory if it is your improvement notice. When OSHA comes to do an inspection and we look at your establishment, we generate a report, and that report says we will come back to your establishment within 3 months. So we can come back anytime after 3 months and we do a re-inspection. If after 3 months we come and we do a re-inspection and nothing has been done, then we can issue an improvement notice at that point in time. And that improvement notice will give you a specific time period in which to address it based on the condition and what has to be fixed. So something that can be fixed within 2 weeks, we say we give you 2 weeks. Something that may require 3 months, we give you 3 months. So it's all about being reasonable because we are not owners. We work with the employer to resolve safety concerns. He reported to management and a month and something management never replies, never started an investigation. Where and how long should it take you to come to your stuff? You talk about death threats, yes, sir. But if you deal with death threats, then that is outside of the limit of ocean. That means you will have to go to the police. I know that was also reported to the police, which I had in DC, of his report, but management didn't pick it up in a month and over. Yeah, that's really a police matter because that's really outside of the safety. But naturally, it will impact on your safety and health and your capability to do the job because it's a psychosocial problem. So in that regard, you might come to OSHA and say, this is the psychosocial problem that I'm dealing with. And we'll ask management to treat with it. But really, it's a death threat. So we don't have any powers to deal with something like that. We have some questions there.
Good morning. I want to find out something concerning Maracas Beach. I am a sanitation worker working on the lifeguard, but the building, the whole building is a hazard. The tile is very smooth.
Like the yellow building?
Yeah. So if I have somebody, say somebody drowning and the lifeguard bring them in to help them, the floor is wet.
Right.
That is a hazard right there. Plus, when rain falls, the entire building sinks. The concrete swelling, the ceiling dropping, tiles raising up and breaking up. You understand? Yeah. So the whole no fire extinguisher, right? Like that there, security, there, sanitation workers there, then on the beach itself, because even though management know about these things. So they is over 3 months we asking them and telling them about it. The toilets bringing back up a horrible sense. We cleaning the toilets, it's clean. But it have a sense coming back up and we can't do anything about it more than put time or bleach. We can't do anything. Right? Outside on the beach now, we can go to Ministry of National Security and tell them, well, the care boys, it has still sticking upwards. No, I like that could be running out to save somebody. It could stick them in the foot.
Yeah.
You understand? It could be a FMU worker cleaning the beach. It could go up in the foot because sometimes these things go through boots and like that not saying boots. Or think about when you come on the beach maybe with your children, your mother, you understand? You could just walk on and still to go directly up in your foot and have nobody because 3 minutes is not doing anything.
So this is a case where you can call 623 OSHA and log a complaint or send an email to OSHA Inspectorate at osha.gov.tt and an OSHA inspector will come and do an inspection and they will take the necessary measures to have the matter addressed.
Thank you.
So the 623 OSHA or OSHA Inspectorate at osha.gov.tt. I'm seeing a hand up in that, and then one right there.
Good morning to everyone. My name is Avon Elbati. I work at Port of Spain General Hospital, Health and Safety Officer and shop steward. For the past 5 years, workers at Environmental asking for housing for the workers. Workers sit all over. I've been in several meetings with management, and they keep running us around. This is 5 years now. And I'm so grateful for this segment here today, and we need help. And it's not like they're telling me to call and make an appointment. This is urgent. It's 5 years now, and I'm asking for some help here now. Thank you.
Yeah, so what I will do is write a complaint on your behalf, and we will have someone come, and we would look at that issue and address it accordingly. Okay, I think there was nothing that ready. No, it's really my elbow look like my hand. All right, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay. I think this young lady here wants to say something just and let's see that cool.
Good morning. Right. I have an issue with workers that work on the field, right? What about if they refuse to work due to a high crime rate in certain areas? And the supervisor telling them they have to go, even though they have been threatened with guns and cutlasses already.
That is a little bit outside of OSHA remit, but definitely we can look at it. And if we see that is a legitimate concern, then OSHA could make a determination as well. So it's a great area for me when you talk about crime, and because you know that is psychosocial problems. So it's a great area. So that's something I can look into for you. Yeah.
Hi, good morning. Natasha here. Savala Mutual Corporation, Health and Safety Officer. What if you're working on a compound that have just one entrance?
That have what?
One entrance.
One entrance.
Hundreds of workers.
Hundreds of workers on one entrance.
In and out. Daily.
Yeah. Is it fire? Do you have a fire certification for the compound? You see, if the one entrance and exit may not be the issue based on the design of the building. However, you have to get once fire services comes in and give a determination on that. So OSHA will then come in and do an inspection. We look at the hazard, we look at the potential outcome, the risk that could be come out of that, and we give you a report. And based on that report, we will request that you have fire services come in and do an inspection, because you have to appreciate that there are some things that we are not the process, we are experts in. So fire, entrance, exit, means of escape, that is the role and function of fire services. So fire services will now have to come and do an inspection and provide you with a report on what you need to do. If fire services see that there are extreme conditions that they need OSHA's input, then fire services will say, hey, OSHA, this is an issue here, this is how we would like for you to address it. It is similar to the truck that is used that is defective. We are not inspection of trucks expert, that's where the transport department comes in. So we'll get transport department to do an inspection on that as well. So we work with other agencies to have issues as well. So if you have a entrance and exit means of escape, we come, we do an inspection, we request you do get a fire certificate. If you don't take an approach to get it done, we give you an improvement notice to get your fire certificate. If you don't comply with the improvement notice, then we will prosecute you in the court of law, and that's the process. Everything has to be done according to process because of the law. Okay? So just to, we'll take some more questions in just a little bit. So just to close on this slide. Okay. So when we talk about safety and health in the workplace, we talk about leadership, right? And all of you are leaders in some way, safety officers, supervisors, whatever function that you may be in, you are leadership, and you should always look for opportunities to improve your communication with management, of course. And in doing this, you will get a greater success rate. Like we talk about managing your attitude, a lot of it comes down to communication, and how we communicate with management will determine a lot of the outcomes that we have. So safety and health is communicated in several means in the workplace, and this should be designed to achieve maximum outcome, right? You know, sometimes they say the crime style gets the attention, but and depending on where you work, you know, you have to use tact and how you communicate. If you keep coming to me and it's rah, 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 every time I see you, I swim in the corner and try to walk the other way, because I can't deal with that on a mental basis every day. So if you came to me and say, Stacey, man, we'll see, this is the issue I have there, whether you address with some partner, this is the condition I will with. You know, it might get a little approach, a better approach to that, or depend on how we just giving you a colloquial way of how we address things. But you have to understand the culture of your organization and adjust to suit, right? We need to improve our safety culture. So when it comes to safety and health in the workplace, leadership is very important. And employees will look to you, I'm referring to you as management, for guidance. Employees will always look to management for guidance. The, and employees will mimic what management do. So if you have a poor safety culture or poor attitude towards safety and health of the organization, that is going to filter down to the bottom of the organization, and that is going to lead to chaos and problems. So it's always important to fix the safety culture within the organization. And being a part of a safety and health committee is where you try to fix and address that safety culture within the organization. Because the safety and health committee is a bridge between employees and management. So you're going to have either a good safety behavior or poor safety culture. Which one do you want? If you work in an environment where you have to deal with people getting up every day and you have to think, oh Lord, God, I have to go and deal with that situation, you ain't gonna want to go to work. Not a confession I have to make. You know, me, I used to work in Port Spain some years ago in a previous job. And every day I used to reach the workplace. You know why I used to reach the workplace? Because I didn't realize it, I hated the job. So it was pressure to get up in the morning and just thinking about that traffic to come to Port Spain to reach the work. Because I hated the job. And that's what a poor safety culture does. You hate to go to work because you have to come to work and deal with this problem. Now I work in OSHA. I love what I do. I really appreciate what I do. So every morning, the traffic is not a problem for me at all. I used to sometimes 7 o'clock, minutes to 7, 7:30. I used to work on time. Sit down, drink a coffee, do something on my phone, and then start work on time and get my job done and go home and I feel comfortable. And that is what good safety culture does because you appreciate what you do. You're not in any conflict with anybody. You don't have to quarrel. You don't have to say who I'm going to try to avoid today. So this is what safety leadership does. You want to have an environment where people feel comfortable working. And this is where management has a role and a function to work with. I think I should try to take a picture, right? You said you will email to you, so you will get these slides on an email. That's not a problem at all. So, so the management of safety and health in the workplace begins with leadership. And you have to see yourself as leaders. Some of us in the organization, we might be a safety officer now, and you want to go to safety supervisor or safety manager. So you have to manage that leadership. You have to demonstrate that from now, how you're able to lead in the organization. Some of you might be employees and you want to move to the next location, next level. So you have to demonstrate that leadership role within your organization. You have to take a leadership approach to managing safety in the workplace. Remember I said unionism, yes, on one hand could be antagonistic, but safety and health has to be collaborative, right? You have to work union, employees, lead management, and OSHA, where OSHA needs to be. So I'm pretty sure all of you have some great, excellent skills that you work with. Analytical, whatever the case may be, it might be emotional intelligence, and that's why you're selected to be in the role that you are when you're hired, right? I know working in an environment, you might forget that, because you have to deal with certain things every day, and it may bring out the roots in you. That's something I have to learn over the years. So you have to understand as leaders, you play a critical role because whatever you do, being here as the safety committee, being here as union representative, whatever you do is what the other employee is going to do. And I'm not saying being soft and being take stupidness. I'm just saying consider the approach that you take and consider the leadership role that you take and how it's going to make a difference in achieving the objective that you want to achieve in the workplace, right? So the management of safety and health in the workplace is not one-dimensional. It's not about them safety officers and them work. It is everyone's job. Everyone has to work together to achieve the outcome. It's some years ago, I was a safety officer, right? In my early years, back in 2007. And the truth is, like Father was talking about, I used to hate the job because sometimes you're going to work and you have to deal with people. And it's so difficult to deal with people. I used to hate to have safety meetings because in the environment management, where there was no real management involvement, and then there was no employee involvement, so sometimes you have to drive people with food. to have a safety meeting, I have to say, I'm going to buy snack plate. I'm going to shop for snack plate. And sometimes you are the safety committee, and that's one of the things I learned as safety officers in an organization. I will do ever take on the role as the chairman of the safety committee because you will end up doing everything. You'll have to call the safety meeting, you'll have to drop the safety meeting minute, and then you have to enforce whatever you do on the safety committee minute. Because you can environment for safety culture where there is no involvement. So those are things that I use over time that has to change and come down to safety leadership. Because there was very little safety leadership. I was young and experienced. I was developing my experience at that time. So that's why I can share that experience now. So yes, you have to understand your role in safety as a leader and how you're going to apply that in your place to get to what I call to get to yes. Get to yes from management and get to yes from the employees' perspective. So it is the leadership is not only about the safety officers or the lower level functionaries. It's about a collaborative approach where everyone must be involved. Right? So it's also relational and it's interpersonal. Right? So people need to feel safe at work. People who are attuned to safety people behavior, feelings and emotions, they're going to know what is taking place and they're going to be able to better address the safety concerns. Right? So employees involved in management of safety and health at work want to feel significant. I'm sure as a safety officer, you want to feel significant, right? You want to feel that what I do makes sense. You could say, yeah, I will collect my salary at the end of the month. It doesn't always do that. After a while, collecting the salary at the end of the month doesn't really matter anymore. You just want to know when you go to work, whatever you do is important to management and is important to the employee. Right? So that's what you have to take into consideration. Right? So you need to feel significant, people need to feel significant. And when people feel significant, then you're going to get results. So it is up to the leadership of the organization to make this happen, and up to you to work with the leadership of the organization to make that happen. So if you feel ignored, then this you will experience some difficulties doing those jobs. Okay? So leadership within the organization has a responsibility to engender a positive safety culture. You have a responsibility to do that. So norms profoundly predict safety culture, and leadership has to establish these safety norms. An example of norms that need to be established, this is something that you need to go back and establish, is safety accountability. Who is responsible for safety in the area? You work in that area, it's your responsibility for safety. You need to have distribution of power and influence on safety leadership. Don't say, I'm a safety man and I have this goal. Give everybody, let everybody know that they are responsible for safety across the organization. You need to let management know they actually have some involvement and participation. If you work in an environment and you see the CEO of the company comes in and you go by the security, and you let the security by the door search their bag and probably pack them down and they have their hand and they cover them. And the CEO doing that. And everybody has to go, but if the CEO could do that, then I could do that too. That's where leadership starts. But if the CEO passes and then want the security and walking, then people going to feel that they could do that too. So whatever you do as the safety officer, people will mimic that. So that's why I said when I climbed up, that's why I share that example with the ladder. When I climbed up there in the ladder and I fell up in the ladder, people will see that they're trying to do the same thing. So I take every step to correct my attitude towards things like that as well. Right? You have to address safety issues in a timely and effective manner. That's why when you refuse to work at OSHA, we submit it 24 hours because we understand matters need to be addressed in a timely manner so that people understand that they are working safely, and you need to communicate. You need to communicate and communicate and communicate all the time. Right? So that's the end of our presentation. I have some, as Safety and Health Committee, you have a responsibility to conduct inspections and identify hazards in the workplace. I have two short videos here. So we're gonna go on the first one, the spot the hazard. So the spot the hazard, you could just fast forward straight, okay? For like a 2 minutes. So people could, so this one is identify some hazards in the workplace. And then on the second video, we're going to look at it for like 5 minutes, the first 5 minutes of it. And we will see how to conduct an inspection and identify hazards in the workplace. And then we would take some more of the questions. While we wait for the video to come up, we'll take some more questions at this time while you're working on the video. If you run out of time, just show the yes. Do we have any questions? Where to put some the microphone? Yeah, go right ahead. That's a question we get and a call we get OSHA all the time. When current goes, how long do you have? There is nothing in law that says you have a time frame by which you must stay or which you must go. There are some practices within state agencies that says that give a specific time frame, right? That says if you don't have any electricity or any essential supply, be it water, electricity, or whatever the case may be, then you go home after the certain period. That's just a practice, but there is nothing in law that says you have to go home or whatever the case may be. As OSHA, if it says that if we call OSHA and say, hey, we have had electricity for the past 5-6 hours, and because we don't have any electricity, then we don't have water, and then we don't have any ventilation because the AC is now working, then OSHA will say, okay, that might be an unreasonable amount of time, 6 hours without ventilation or water, because people working there. So we may say, I'm just giving a figure, I'm just giving a rough figure. We would ask the manager or the management of the organization to take some measure to resolve the issue, right? Remember, we are the law enforcement. So we can't tell a manager this is what they have to do when there's no law that says you have to do that. We'll look at management to see what are you doing to address the issue. Okay? So you may not have water, but the management might say we go and we buy bottled water. Right? So that is what we would do. Yes, there's a lot of shortcomings within the USH Act that we would have identified. And all of these shortcomings will have to be amended because significant portions of the USH Act stick to factory. And when you're talking about water and all of those things, it sticks to factory. And where some of us work are not factory. For example, the hospital is not a factory. A school is not a factory. But significant portion of the USH Act sticks to factory. Talks about reporting of accident, talks about factory, talks about welfare. Those things stick to factory. So we generally look at other areas like a 60A or 60F to address it. But so all of these things that have to be addressed on the
question. Don't encourage me. The chances of OSHA coming with you tell a letter or something to you guys to come.
Yeah.
Right? What's the chances you'll come in like out of 100?
99.
99. You guarantee that? Because this is true, I don't know.
Huh?
This is true, that.
No,
And a lot of things will say, they will do, will happen, may happen.
I'm not exaggerating. It's what we do. It's
All right.
job,
Okay.
right?
Let's ask it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I'm going to say something here. At OSHA, we have a number of programs and inspectors that we have to conduct on a monthly basis. It's part of our what we evaluate on. Yes, because as I said, I have to say, let's say I have to do 10 inspections for the month, right? I may say, okay, someone call on, give us something, so that inspection I could go and do. So that makes it, I don't have to look for elsewhere. And go and address that, and that will come. So it's why I said it's 99% sure that someone will come, because it's part of our function as well. We look at the video and then we would get back to the question. So play for the first 5 minutes. So this is a process by which you can use to conduct an inspection as safety committee in your workplace, and it's a process by which OSHA, similar process OSHA follows. So that is an example of how you as a safety and health committee can conduct inspection. So one of the recommendations I would make is, as if you have a safety and health committee in your workplace, that is, you would have regular safety meetings. So prior to having your safety meeting, you do a walk around the establishment, you identify the safety concerns, and that is to be part of the basis by which you have your safety meeting. Well, part of it, of course, where you address the issues that you identify during your safety committee walk around. It doesn't make sense that you have a safety and health committee and you don't work together, the establishment, and identify safety issues so that they can be addressed during the safety meeting. Okay? So this was just a video with some, just for you to see some hazards. You couldn't skip that if you want, okay? You can skip it if you want, yeah. Yeah, because it was just to look at different hazards in different. Yeah, so you can see. Because a shine. So yeah, so we have a few more minutes. So if you have some more questions, concerns, we can address them, and the coordinator will let us know when to finish. So we have a question back there, and we have one in front here.
Three. I have 3 questions. Something I just saw on the clip in there. Where I work, there's a forklift. And for the longest while, I've been complaining to management. I've been complaining to my head of health and safety. There is a forklift that men work. They are not licensed. When I tell the workers, do not go on the forklift, because if anything happens to them, I always miserable. So I want like OSHA to come to address that, because I know it is wrong. So when I tell workers don't go on management and the supervisors and they go in, I just look miserable, but they are not licensed.
Yeah, a person should not be operating a forklift if they are not certified to operate a forklift. Having a driver's permit doesn't certify you to operate a forklift. You must be trained specifically for the operation of forklift. So a person operating a forklift, knowing that they're not supposed to operate it, and getting an accident, can be charged by OSHA for operating a forklift without that authorization.
So within your letter to you will write that thank you. And when would you be coming to address those serious matters?
I will have to write a complaint based on what we talk about, and then it passes through the system, and someone would be assigned to or myself may be assigned to come and I can't guarantee you that 24 hours, because it's not serious.
Okay.
It's not a refusal to
Something I saw again on the clipping. How often do they need to come and check fire extinguishers?
Right. So that is set up based on your risk rating. In some establishment, you have person internal of your company that should check it every month. For me, as a safety person, I will have a fire check once a week to ensure that all the fire equipment are in place. But external best practice is every 6 months to get a person who knows these things and can fix it to come in every 6 months and certify it. Because you can't certify internally, it has to be certified externally. And that's done every 6 months.
Well, by means, yes. I know.
But if it's yes, then the extinguisher is no good.
Now, this is something for everyone in here who are health and safety officers. Yesterday, I had a problem where in the pipeline, now we have departments who have water filters, but in normal pipeline water, the water is running brown, feeling brown. Now, management is telling me, well, it is give only departments that have these water filters, they don't give water in bottles to drink. But you remember now, these departments that have the filters don't get water bottles, water by the bottle. So yesterday, I called management and I told them when the water was running dirty. But in a case like that for me, I ready to send home workers. But I want to know from you, do we have the power? Because with this whole job of health and safety, you could know. You don't have to wait for management to tell you. You could know if something is happening to workers. So in a case like this, where they're telling you to hold on to see when the water starts to, are you ready for the workers to go home? And do we have that power? I want to know that.
What tell workers go home?
Is there any sense of a hazard like that? Do we have that power?
No, I mentioned that you can't tell workers to go home. I don't think you have that power. That is management power to tell workers to go home.
So if the water, and they're telling the water running wrong, and they're telling workers to hold on. So, all right, as the employees, what are we to do?
And if you in water, well, there's a proper approach. You have, if it's drinking water, you can only get bottled water. I don't know. I can't say this is their food or that is their food.
So the answer that you gave me yesterday, as the administrator, have the workers hold on. So meanwhile, they're supposed to drink that dirty water.
I don't think you would drink that dirty water. You would consciously drink dirty water. So it's a dynamic situation that I can't say this is one thing or that is one thing.
I have a problem. If you have workers that come to not properly on that client, without proper fitness, foreman or the supervisor will allow them to work all these uniforms and how could you, how could us as health and safety officers address it?
So as health and safety officers, your role and responsibility is to ensure that person that we can safe. And you have the power as the health and safety officer on our side to stop an unsafe act or unsafe condition. So if you see people mixing concrete in slippers in a workplace, you're gonna allow them to continue. That is your job to stop that work and ensure that the proper thing is done. But, well, you see, the thing is, you are the expert on management. If management is allowing unsafe work conditions to continue, then this is where, and it's out of your hand, this is where you come to OSHA and you report to OSHA and let OSHA come in and address it. And OSHA will address it. There's testimony to that, right? But you as the safety officer on site have the role, have the responsibility to stop unsafe work. It's your responsibility. And if management says, no, you can't stop the work, let it continue, you call OSHA and let OSHA come in and deal with it. You take pictures, you send to OSHA, we will come in anonymously. That's another thing that we do. So if you report something to OSHA and you feel like you will be victimized by reporting it, you say, hey, I would like this to be anonymous, and we'll come in and we will look specifically at what we talk about, and we won't call any name. We wouldn't say we get a complaint. We may say we get a complaint, or we may not, based on the outcome. So they would not know whom may be coming. That is written in law. That we can't say who called and who complained. So we done it and do it anonymously. Okay?
Yes.
There's a hand all with me back there as well.
Hi, good day. I'm Joel Thomas, Education Officer from Works and Transport.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, health and safety is not just based upon conditions, physical conditions maybe, but also workers' mental safety.
Yeah.
Right? And what seems to be relevant or we continue to happen is that it's frustrating as you mentioned, that you find yourself not wanting to go to work.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you do the necessary protocols, you make a complaint, you highlight issue, and you ignore it. And there are instances where you do your checks, you make your reports. It have instances in our division where OSHA came in many times, and the issue seems not to be addressed. And they come back and do follow-up checks, and the same conditions that they saw before, they meet it again. So it's very frustrating that years are going by, no real progress, no real correction. And you, as a worker, you feel like you are wasting away. You're not motivated, you are not encouraged, and these things tear away at you.
Yeah, and something we need to accident.
It can be because you have no morale, and then obviously you'll start to ignore things that you would normally highlight. Because now the culture is that nothing is going to change. And then management takes its time, comply, and then complain as if that is some kind of hidden law.
So well, if you say OSHA is coming in and seeing condition that is existing that are not being addressed, then that is a responsibility we have to take the necessary enforcement action to address the matter. Right? So we have the but you might say, you might come to an organization and you just look at a number of hazards, right? You may have 10 hazards, and one of it including the broken chair, right? I'm just giving an example, I'm just juxtaposing a situation there. They have a broken chair. That broken chair is a problem for you, but they may have addressed eight of the issues, but the broken chair wasn't fixed. That OSHA is not likely to say we're going to give you an improvement because we see it taking effort to fix the issues, and some issues just take longer than others to fix. So if we make an assessment, yes, we identify 10 items, we take 7 or 8 out of the 10, then we will say, yes, the employee is taking steps to address the issue, and we will pay the employer. So that's one of the approaches. I'm not making excuses, but I'm just saying that may be the case as well.
Well, I just want to say something to you, young lady. Where I work, right? If the water in the pipe is leaking, and management saying to hold on, the work will be shut down until you fix what you have to fix, right? You have to take a stand and let all the employees work with you to take a stand. But you could, if they're working out that way, that's where you're supposed to come in, OSHA.
Yeah. You see,
hold on,
hold on,
just how, you ain't got to say nothing yet. Hold on. What I'm saying to you is that when you send documents to you guys and you're coming, because you said 6 hours or something, that's how
I was just saying
a random time. All right. Because when gentlemen say they go here, they come in, and it's same thing happening again and again and again. So you say you will fix it, so we will direct it to Mr. Archibald to come in to deal with issues when having issues. How that's something? The last is your inspector, right?
Yeah.
So I write it and address it to Mr. Archibald. So he could come in and so you to come in because you seem like a serious inspector.
Yes, yes, I should come.
Oh, I could come in. All right, let me hear you.
Let me make one point. I could come as an inspector and I take my job seriously. But my name is just my name. When I come and I report, it's OSHA coming, not Archibald coming.
Well,
I job with OSHA perspective, OSHA's eye, OSHA policy.
So Archibald don't work for OSHA.
Archibald work for OSHA, but
Right.
Archibald don't work for Archibald.
Okay, all right.
But when I come to do OSHA work.
All right.
So when
Yeah,
you know, if everyone reads Bible, you have to give you a Bible because I'm a Christian. But when I'm asking how we know, and Jesus said to the disciples, if you see me, you see the Father. Right? So whichever inspector you see OSHA. So if you see Archibald, you see OSHA. If you see Jury, you see OSHA. That's calling for.
so we're supposed to get the same result.
You get the same result. Everybody representing OSHA. I am not representing.
Well, it's not for management.
If you're not for management, they
Yeah.
don't strike that thing.
All right. Now let's say,
If I show you my report, I will show you the amount of prohibition notice where I shut down sites, right?
boss.
One of the area I have to shut down was in a school. Recently had to close the school because of the conditions, right? Government offices and issues notices at private places because of the unsafe conditions. I am that is Africa. Yes, that is a complaint, and someone will come. It don't have to be me, but someone will come and attend that whoever comes representation. Yeah, there's a question back there. I don't know.
Yeah, and exactly. Health and safety, environmental concern.
So another question, please.
What's a south section, right? I work on a wastewater treatment plant. So we don't have a health and safety committee. But as the representative officer, I'm also the shopper, as the representative officer, do I have the authority in the instance of an unsafe environment to stop it until the authorities, health and safety officer come?
I would understand this. The long short of that, I would say a careful yes, because I'm not entirely sure what is the policies and procedures in your organization. But as the shop owner, you have a responsibility to the workers you represent. And if you see something that is imminent dangerous, then you can say we can't perform that job until this is corrected. But that doesn't mean you want to shut down the job for every frivolous stuff that you have. Oh, water ain't come today? Suppose. We smelling pain, don't go to work. You know, you have to be reasonable with what you're doing.
I understand what you're saying.
But yes, you can stop unsafe work. That is part of having a proper safety culture. Everyone is responsible for safety in the organization. And if you see unsafe work, you point it out and you have it addressed and corrected according to your company's procedures, of course.
All right, counsel.
We have one question here and then
In relation to the water issue, where workers were talking about the time frame when they have no water in the compound, right? As an officer of the union, you will normally get calls, Ms. Gustav or Ms. Lambert or whoever. There is no water for the past 2 hours. So you were saying that I asked you before if Usha was considering to add, or when they are amending the act to implement that. So is it ongoing conversation, or is that particular conversation has not started yet?
I will say those specificities is a little bit above my pay grade, right? I can't say exactly what they are discussing to amend. There are conversations ongoing about amending the law. I can't say specifically if they're gonna put something for water and time frame or this is what they're addressing. When that time comes around, my job is to be a part of the consultation. I can't say exactly what they're going to amend. Right? We have a guy here in the okay there.
Issues with management pertaining to unsafe practices and OSHA coming to do the inspection. Does OSHA turn a blind eye?
OSHA does not turn a blind eye.
No, wait, let me finish. Or do they get compromised? Because it happens in many institutions, right? Turn away from when the workers have this grievance pertaining to unsafe practices. And management get away with that. Let me put it like that.
OSHA don't ever turn a blind eye. If you read the news, you will see where OSHA prosecuted the management of Carrier for the accident that happened.
Coming to that, does OSHA ever get bribed?
I can't answer that question. I don't get right. I can't answer that question. I don't know. I don't know. But what I can say to you is we do not turn a blind eye to anything. If a complaint or something comes to OSHA will come in. And you know the interesting thing is, everything OSHA do is subject to public scrutiny. So you can always send a request to OSHA for what the inspector would have done, and they have to provide it to you through freedom of information. And that is the case. People send freedom of information requests to OSHA every day. And we send that report to OSHA, to the person, wherever it may be. So that is how you can scrutinize OSHA's work. But all of those questions, I can answer them questions. I could answer for me. Yeah, good morning. Yeah, this was pertaining to same safety too. Yeah, what happened? Because most of the time, when the lady was talking with the water and all the issues and then, plenty time, situation and arise. You remember you talking because you have different levels from all of us here, you know. Is we have to deal with these individuals and then when they come and as we hard and all kind of stupidity we have to deal with them. So it's easy for you to come up on the podium there and be talking and telling your safety and all kind of things. But if we, when we're at a cutting, we have to start to deal with them and we have to shut down and all them type of things. So it's sounding pretty up there on your end. But don't be in there, don't be pretty at all because we have to deal with them. Because certain issues when them come, we have to rectify the problem. You understand? Yeah, and my job is only to represent what's the law. I'm a law enforcement officer, right? So if you have a concern, all I'm saying, you can call OSHA, and OSHA will come and take necessary steps within the limit of the law that OSHA has to work with. I know the reality which you have to do, and you have to do what you have to do at your level to do what you have to do. I can't tell you go and do it for you to say the OSHA man say to do that. I can't say you don't have water, so OSHA man say go home. I can't tell you that. There's no law that says that.
We work next to a clinic.
So
A clinic this put by broken glass.
oh, okay.
Right? The company do a air quality test. Found abnormality in the test. Right? And refused to divulge that information affairs. What is our next step?
Well, the company did an indoor air quality, and they have abnormalities within the indoor air quality. Does the company send you for health surveillance? Meaning they have a health surveillance program where on an annual basis you go to a doctor and you look at whatever lung functions or whatever the case may be. Do you do that?
Let me just carry up saying to you, just expound on that. The union in negotiation with the company, we said to them that there are workers in hazardous areas, those who deal with ammonia gas, in the engineer with noise pollution. And what the company come back to us and said to us is that, you know what happening? We going to do a health surveillance and it encompass everybody in the compound. The union position on that is, we are not saying that there shouldn't be health surveillance, but there are approximately 50-35 employees in areas that we deem high risk. And we want you all to have a greater or a shorter time span on the health surveillance of these employees. And they are very adamant and saying that they only do this within the 3-year period.
Right. And I'm not trying to get into your union and employee thing, but what I'm thinking is health surveillance is a requirement by law. Once you're working in a hazardous condition, you must conduct health surveillance for employees. Based on the health surveillance, then you would know what the exposure is. And based on that exposure, then recommendations can be made for the time frame in which you can be within the environment. So you can't determine the time frame to work in an environment if you haven't done the assessment.
That's correct. Because we even went so far to tell them that the Act states if we, the Health and Safety Committee, recognize that that person is at risk, we can ask you to have that surveillance on the person. But again, they have a different law.
It's a requirement. It's a shared duty, shared requirement of health and safety.
Correct.
So the union can say we don't want health surveillance on this one. or we don't have one health surveillance on that one because for whatever reason, but if you are exposed to technical requirements by the management to do it. And this is what we would issue an improvement notice to our management to provide health surveillance.
Well, then definitely we'll have to seek more intervention from the OSHA authority. And also, we have been trying to get the company, because a lot of us in the union use chemicals or materials. And how much of us actually understand what the MSDF says, the material safety data sheet? How much of us is actually exposed to that? We just working on something where they say safe to work on, they give you gloves, they give you glasses, they give you goggles, or whatever, and say go and work. But the information for that is really hard to come by, and then persons at risk, right? Among us.
It's a big problem because you must communicate, person must know what they're exposed to, person must know what are the health concerns that they are treated with. So you must take the necessary steps. So all of this must be a comprehensive hazard management program. So we would need to see that. So, but you can't say we're not going to do health surveillance. Then if you say that, you're putting the person you're representing at danger because they don't know what is going on with them. I think that might be irresponsible to do.
Hi, good morning. My name is Ronnie. I am the Assistant Secretary of Health Sector. I'm also the Health and Safety Officer in the Mount Hope. I'm a policy worker. We are contracted up in Mount Hope. And we had an electrical problem about a few months ago where they had a fan blowing on the power outage because if they move the fan, everything is going to shut down. And we were taking current. It was both kitchen staff and laundry staff were taking same current. That was rectified, but since this has been rectified now, the ladies' toilet is in darkness. So you have to use the toilet in darkness. I've observed this for the past month now, and it has not been rectified.
Well, that is something where OSHA would come in and look at it. And if we recognize that it's dark and there's trip and fall hazards and there are other issues, then we can say, put this water out of service. You fix it or it's out of service. But it always has to be done based on an assessment, okay? I know it's done 20 past, so yeah, so you guys know how long you want to go on for because it's lunchtime, maybe your lunch hour.
I have one more question. At the authority, wastewater workers for the doctor visits twice a year. Those who work in the water will get doctor visits once a year. What has been happening is that wastewater workers are getting one doctor visit. Sometimes water workers got no visit to the doctor. Now, this is a trend that has been going on past COVID. What I'm asking now, could this be reported to OSHA? Because we have met on many occasions and asked questions of management concerning these doctor visits, especially for wastewater workers who work in a highly toxic environment.
Right, so there's a fundamental thing you have to make a note of here. With OSHA, we don't look at your doctor visit, we look at health surveillance, right? Your doctor visit could be a part of your management approach to look at your health or regular checkup, right? But we want to see that the employee is doing health surveillance, meaning they have a time frame in which you must visit the doctor. Every person who is exposed to whatever could cause harm, and then they have and they use that to see if your health is deteriorating. And if your health is deteriorating, then you could say, okay, you need to go to the doctor 3 times a year, you need to go to the doctor 4 times a year. But we want to know that you are doing health surveillance. That's what we would look at.
This is what I'm saying. Wastewater workers are afforded doctor visits twice a year, not once a year, twice.
Yeah.
But it's not taking place. So we can't meet the management concerning it.
and yet the trend is still continuing. This is why I'm asking, what is OSHA's role? Well, OSHA role in that, if that is not happening, then there is no health surveillance taking place for persons who might be exposed to a certain type of risk to their health and safety. So you report that to OSHA. OSHA will come and investigate that matter. We will then ask to see your health surveillance program. We will ask to see your risk assessment, and if you see that is not taking place, then we will issue you with an improvement notice to say within 2 weeks. Because the health and safety program something just have to put in place. You don't need 3 months to put that in place, right? Within 2 weeks, we want to see this comment and that you are doing surveillance for your workers. Failing which, then we'll take the necessary enforcement action. So I suggest to you, if this health surveillance program is not taking place for exposed employees to such a critical basis, you call OSHA and let OSHA come in and address it. Well, we have. Yeah.
But Mr. I have no more questions. I'll go watch Metro. I want to tell everybody we are state officers, and I see where everybody is serious about our business and good. You understand? And for us to continue to fight and struggle for our workers, right? We are not here to fight against management, but betterment for management and workers, right? At the end of the day. And I want, because I see nobody was going to them or no what you call like I don't know, but I want to say to Mr. Ronnie, right? Thank you so much for edifying us. But whatever is bash and whatever, don't get that put at the heart. But because you are, and I said it, you are Mr. Ronnie, you are not us. But this information that you get here, right? I would like you to go back to us and let them know we are going to struggle. And as I say, everything you say right and you're right and you're right. We need help. That is the final conclusion. We need help. Because as the gentleman just said, it's we facing it. And you know how we feel like and in the workplace and workers watching you and not getting things from happening. So we need you, not you, but because your name is Mr. Ronnie Archibald. And say what? Something to say. And I said, what to say when you come back to power you? The Congress still got to be a professor too. But you know what's going on? We need help. We need help. Because you know what? Workers watching us foolish, union watching us foolish, and we will do what we have to do. So we need the help. And thank you so much for edifying us today.
And final thought, whatever concerns you have, write to OSHA, call OSHA, write to OSHA, and someone will come and will come on there.
Could I have everyone's attention, please? On behalf of the President General and the National Executive and the entire staff of NUGFW, we want to present Mr. Archibald with this token appreciation for coming here and facilitating this training. So, Mr. Archibald, on behalf of our health and safety officers, we want to say a special thank you. It was interesting, you were lively, you had everybody tuning in and well informed. We want to tell you thank you and we do appreciate your contribution. We do thank you, Comrade Archibald, for this vibrant, informative session. And we know that you probably still have a lot more questions, but like you said, you can write to OSHA and we are sure that you will get a response. Now, we want to continue with our day. So before we do that, we want to send you on a lunch break. Now, before we go on the lunch break, we'd like to split into 5 teams. So we'll take the tables going across. So we have 2 tables to the back. Team 1, starting 1 from the back. So 2 tables to the back. Yeah, so I decide team 1. Then the table right in front of that, team 2. Then we come up here. We have team 3. So we have another set here for team 4. All right. And since these tables are full, we can come together to be team 5. All right. Now we will distribute some questions. There are 5 questions that you will answer together in your team. So team 1, you will take question 1, team 2, question 2, and so forth. All right? Presented as, well, it will be after lunch. So please make it lively, make it vibrant, do a scenario, simple health and safety questions, and then you will get some feedback. All right?
Okay. We on your paper is number 3, right? As a health and safety officer, a worker reports to you that they have refused to work. In a 5-minute scenario, highlight the steps that must be taken in having this situation addressed. This is how me and my teammates will address the situation. First thing, cool, pretty, cool, calm, and collective. Ask the person's name, the department they work at, date and time. I would ask them, did you inform your supervisor? Did you go to the health and safety officer? Ask him what happened for the let's see that. Or refusal. What would happen? Yeah, I would ask him what happened for the refusal at work. Was there any witnesses? Depending on his information, I would ask him if there was any injury. Depending on what information, was it a potential risk or an accident that happened? After this, did you inform the safety committee, management, and the safety committee? Did you inform them? And after that, I would ask if the company did agree, meaning according to what they say, it was a potential injury or what happened, and if they decide to deal with the matter then and there, we would not have the reason of call to call 623 USH. Thank you. Thank you. That's good. Yeah, let me give team 3 a round of applause.
I was tempted to do something there just now, but in the interest of natural justice, I didn't ask. Next team, please. Oh, anyone have any comments or critique on what they would have said? And take away. You mean the health and safety handbook? Oh. Now you have to talk like if I come from Marvin. So when you say SOPs, you know you're talking about. Right. All right. Okay. Thank you, Comrade. Well, all right. My critique, just one little thing you missed. While it came to the union officer on the floor, you as the union officer on the floor, you have to make note of it and make sure and report it to the union head office also. Because we need to be able to be aware of these things happening on the floor. All right? Everything that happens, especially in terms of refusal to work, if you have a bad mind employer, the next thing they would say the union taking industrial action, and they could end up going to court and ask for proceedings to disband the union. So we have to be mindful of that also. We are union representatives, and the union main office must be aware of some of these things. But otherwise, I like the presentation. Next thing.
One thing I wanted to clarify here, right? So remember when Mr. Archibald was doing his lecture, when he was speaking about the process that needs to be followed also. The first thing you have to do is ensure that the workers took it to management. And remember, any question is highlighted you as a health and safety representative that is actually on the health and safety committee. Okay, because one of the things, when reporting any grievance, it will be looked at if proper procedure was followed as the Comrade here has just highlighted. So you want to ensure that you follow every step, and as also highlighted, as the Comrade Council highlighted, to get proof on the steps that we take on.
Very next thing. I saw, yeah, come forward, Comrade. You all can come forward. You are team one. Team one, team one ready, boy. But there's only one man. Team one. A team of one. So it is. All right, Comrade, go ahead.
Well, above self-pleasure, good afternoon to each and everyone. I am Dexter Hawkins, Health and Safety Secretary for the Watson Conference. Our question is, you are part of the Health and Safety Committee at your workplace. What are some recommendations that you may propose to the committee to mitigate risk within administration building? But I must say that as the head of the Health and Safety Committee, we did a tour of some of the administration buildings on our compound. And what we found that a lot of the fire extinguishers were not properly maintained and need to be inspected at a regular basis, because when we check at the inspection manual of some of those, they were due. Some of the buildings, for in case of a fire or emergency, the stairwells were not lit with reflective signs showing where you need to exit. We found that the area where you may need to get to in case of emergency, muster point is not an adequate distance from the administration building. I think these things we pointed out, and we expect within a short period of time that they will be rectified.
Thank you, Comrade. So that was team one. Anyone have any critique, questions, or anything? Wait, now, you did that at the start.
You know, one more thing. But here what's going on. The rest of the members are, I don't want to say shy, but I represent everyone. But we have to say that we give and take a little bit, so then we get to it. Don't worry, we'll take it from.
All right.
Not the rest.
Question one. Yeah, there's the question one.
Thank you very much for your observation. I think this is the only way we can get right. If I have each other. Comrade, thank you, because here you give me extra time. You see, the proposal to mitigate the risk is training, because training is something very important for employees. Training, if you have like in handling fire extinguishers, training in terms of how we leave a building in terms of emergency. Because here now you'll need leaders, you'll need team leaders in various aspects of these things. So to mitigate some of the risks in terms of what I highlighted, one of the most important things is regular training, that at least if we do it once a month, that employees would be, well aware in case of emergencies, what is need to be done. So I think those are my recommendations to this side.
So I have two things to say that they didn't talk about, because we had a claim there, right? Even before. Excuse me,
Hold on. Let's person on the floor. We have to show the person who's speaking respect.
Right? Because we saw claiming, and they can't deny that. It does not put on your safety, your hat, your safety, before you go out to spur. Right, in dress up, in for your makeup. So we saw it on the film, so you have the right to talk about that. Correct, right?
You're correct.
Right.
Correction.
And secondly, a question I asked earlier on that they didn't put is every 6 months it's supposed to see about your fire extinguisher. So that is my key thing.
Thank you, sister. Anyone else? Anyone else? So, let us start with Comrade. And we can go back to your seat now. Now let me add my little 2 cents to it. In terms of recommendations, because they're talking about an administration building. He spoke about, he pointed out the signs, but he didn't say specifically what the recommendation was. But the question was the recommendation. So, signs must be clearly defined, entrances must not be blocked, and they must be in a place that workers can easily access them. The exit. Another thing is, in terms of the office environment, chairs and tables must be put in a space that would not obstruct good health and safety. The lighting must be properly lighted. Those are things they look for inside the office. The smoke alarms must be working and checked regularly, because in case of an emergency, you don't want to find out that the smoke alarm was defective when it's too late. So I could give you an early warning signal. And one sometimes we just forget, the security man by the door have to make sure and get people's name and ID to properly identify who are the persons entering the building and when they exit. Very important, because sometimes we go into the building and we have a challenge in here. We have a challenge with it sometimes. But the security is there for a reason, and it is to protect not only the property, but the people, both of the times the workers in the building. But I use the word people because the Health and Safety Act says it's not only workers, but the people who it is enters your compound, you're also responsible for. That's how broad it is. We have one of the most stringent health and safety laws in terms of our act. Our minimum is where people height is. Is their highest. What we have as our minimum is what people height is. So we went beyond in some of the things that we recommend in our health and safety legislation. So be mindful of that. And I would stop here because I know in terms of time. Anyone else?
Good day, everybody. My name is Chester Cookshaw, the team leader and health and safety, Caribou, San Fernando. All right. So you have my team members.
Lucas Reno from the Gomartian Borough Corporation, Health and Safety.
Afternoon, everybody. Ryan Logan, who got a Capital Power Regional Corporation. After everyone, Francis Obla. Oh, Francis Obla. 5 classes. Different comrades, Kwame Smith, Arab section, CGL.
Afternoon, everyone. Natasha Hassier, Sawala Regional Corporation, Health and Safety. Today, Sophia Dixon, Regional Corporation, Health and Safety Officer.
Cameron Gokul, Power Glasses Limited.
All right. So this is a big team, right? Okay, good. We answered number 4, using the grievance procedure within the existing collective agreement at your workplace, outline the steps that should be taken in reporting an on-the-job injury. Right? So we will take about 7 steps you will take when you're doing stuff like that, right? First, you have to care for the employee medical treatment, right? Notify management and other team members, secure the scene, complete the incident report, including date, time, and what happened, implement safety protocols, establish a return to work program, and follow up with employees. So you have an employee who gets run over by a forklift on his foot, right? So you have to make sure I'm secure, make sure if you're okay. You have to, like, just make good incident report, get it done, right? You inform management that you had an accident, so you do the accident report. Then you will try to organize for the employee to get to the hospital, or, I mean, to make sure they get help. And besides doing that, now you have to, well, the company is supposed to notify OSHA. I think that's the procedure, right? So you call the 623 number, OSHA. You know what I mean? You can do that if you're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to have that. The company will do the report, right? And you have to check up on your employee to make sure you're all right, to make sure things running smooth. And from a supervisor point of view, which is myself, as a supervisor current self, I had incidents already where I have to do that. And I personally went and checked on the employee to make sure that, to make sure make them feel good, that we care about them. You know what I mean? So that's my opinion with that. So what was the thing? The Bible is fine? Yeah.
That's yours for the team.
The team, sorry, pardon me. They are my team. I forget.
Glad you remember that.
Right.
So carry the mic. So we have any questions or critiques?
Yeah, come on.
That young lady with the glasses there, she has some questions.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
And it's only because when you told you about it, it's not you alone, it's we the team. Right. Secondly, it did not ask if there was any witnesses at the incident. Correct, is right? Excuse me? But yeah, you must ask if there were any witnesses. Correct, is right? Workers, any workers, any witnesses. Then eyewitnesses. Right? I don't have to tell you. But next time it's not you with we. And not I told him, and no one told out.
Hold on. Anyone else have any observations or critiques?
I covered the first 7 months.
One thing that you also got to point out. So when the worker is being taken to the hospital or the health facility, a form has to be taken by the doctor. That form is then taken to the insurance company of the employee. So the insurance company needs 2 things to carry on with the claim, right? Yeah, an investigative report and that's document from the doctor.
Well, can I say something? When you and school follow the form, when you give the pay manager, and they follow the form. That necessary, that form is so you fill it out with of the employee, which it goes to the medical company when you're going to the hospital. Is that right?
No, because remember, at that stage, when the worker is going to the hospital, it would be right after the injury.
Right, so they have a form that it's full out to go with the employee to the hospital. Oh, okay, all right. Because I know they full out the form, so you know what's not a little bit there now, but I'm just making sure that. Yeah, sir, I'm just making sure. Hey.
We have cameras online, and if while we talking, we may be hearing you in here, but they're not hearing you there.
Right.
And it would make for kind of a frustrating thing for the online participant. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so please stop.
Go ahead, Comrade. Make your statement. No, as I say, function for the staff after the incident. No, that's all right.
I just want to correct this gentleman. There is a part on the injury form that health and safety must fill out.
Thank you. Who tell you that they should have mic again? All right. So let me give my 2 cents. You want to go ahead and take your seat. So give me. Let me point out something. If it's one thing that you made in your presentation that I really appreciate that you all thought about, you see this follow-up to the worker who was injured, to let them know that somebody care about them other than the company who want to know when they're coming back out to work. That is important. But it's health and safety we're dealing with. And you don't think there are things you shouldn't take for granted. Don't ever take it for granted that the health and safety manager or health and safety department will follow that. Because the question was what you outline the steps that you should take, should be taken in reporting the incident. And you, as one of the steps, as the health and safety representative, you have to make sure that they follow that code. The other thing was, and I given team 3 tips later, it is almost the same procedure you do when you are addressing a grievance. Who, what, when, where, why, and sometimes why. And sometimes why. All right? Those are the things that you have to ensure that takes place in the report. You say it, but you didn't say exactly that yet. You dance around it. Because you think, yes, brutally I wasn't paying attention. All right? No. I heard what he said. Oh, are you biased? No. No, nothing is wrong with being biased, but you have to be biased to the right thing. All right? So, in doing that and preparing your report and whatnot, and you have to now ensure that you of yourself cool, calm, and collected. Because you don't want to be carrying a hasty report where because you are upset because something would have happened to your colleague on work, you yourself get hyper and you go and you make errors along the way. And the reason for that is if it has to reach anywhere beyond your level at the shop floor or the employer and the union, the legal aspect of it, some attorney will take that little thing that you miss out and turn it into a technicality to force the legal to lose benefit. And that is why it is important. So we have to be extremely meticulous in particularly health and safety people when we're dealing with health and safety. And it is because we would have seen those little things come into play as we go along. All right? So, last table.
Good day, everyone. Good day. My name is Joel Thomas. I am from Ministry of Works. I am Education Officer. I am team leader for Group 5, and our assignment today is to identify what is deemed a risk as opposed to what is deemed a hazard. And before I continue, I would like to give my comrades an opportunity to identify themselves as they.
Good day, everyone. My name is Michaela Walters. I'm at the Educational Officer at Maracas Bay SMU site.
Right, a pleasant good day, comrades. My name is Mark Joseph. I am a Health and Safety Officer of the Works and Transport Caroni branch.
Good afternoon, comrades. My name is Roxanne Long, Education Secretary, Local Government.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gemma Debbie Lincoln, and I'm from Public Bank, Montreal. Teacher, Occupational. Everyone, my name is Gemma Debbie Lincoln. I'm the Education Officer for the Republic Bank non-clerical.
Thank you so much. Those are my team members.
Excuse me again for anyone who have any ideas. I am a security, so you will have to deal with me first. If our team will get noted, she noted, she will work on it. Rather this book together.
I was now going to tell the lady who working in the bank when you come, rough him up, because then he always talking to you to talk hard.
Almost all of them.
Going forward, comrades, as we heard and learned on the slides presented today by Mr. Archibald, that there is a difference between a hazard and a risk. And a hazard is something or a situation that can cause harm to an employee or a worker. And when it comes to educational hazard, it includes the safety hazards that causes accident or physical injury to a person. And we remember that a risk is the potential outcome of the hazard when realized. So I could identify that a hazard is a situation or something that can cause harm as opposed to the risk that is the actual injury sustained right after the incident or accident. So in some instances where we notice a wet floor and there is no signage, that poses a hazard. But when somebody slips and falls and hurts their hip or their back or any part of their body, that is the risk in regards to the entire situation there. When we talk about unsafe ladder, the hazard is using the ladder, but the risk is obviously if it's unsafe or it's unsteady or it's not level, the risk of a person falling and the potential fall is increased tremendously because of the conditions that exist. We talk also about an open outlet or a damaged sword. The hazard that it implies is that if you hold on to it, you could be electrocuted because of sustained burns or shock. And lastly, in my comrades' situation where there is metal stakes on the beach, definitely a hazard. And the risk that can be caused is that there could be an emergency response to save someone and they could obviously suffer serious injury by a metal stake going up into their feet, causing puncture or some serious laceration. So there we can clearly identify what is a hazard as opposed to risk in regards to health and safety in the workplace. Thank you.
After team one. Question to you. Right, five to team one. Team five, sorry. Now, the question was asked in one, you yet to answer it. Reason for you outline risk and hazard. Yeah, the answer of five.
We have five of
Oh, my apologies. I don't have any question for you.
But the reason why you don't, it's the reason why you don't have, you can't say what they wanted to say, right? Because it did not say from the beginning, like everyone, what he was answering to. Good question. That's why it was on the form. Here, another question.
Comrade, yes, stated certain hazards and so on, right? But you forgot to actually list or identify the risk by classification, low or high, right? So that's my contribution.
Well, basically, no, well, obviously, there are considerations of a high risk and low risk in regards to the hazard. But that wasn't necessarily our assignment. However, when faced with these situations, it's up to us to identify, the hazard, and also by identifying the hazard, you could also determine what level of risk it would be matched with.
What's the last point for using the ladder pattern? That was using in lecture thing already, or it's about to use that. Why not going to points lost for that?
Yeah, nice. Okay.
So that's why Mr. Archibald outline different levels of risk, right? And the importance of that is if the case has to go anywhere, if it has to leave management, you must be able to properly present to us on why it is you believe that this case should be taken into consideration and that there's a need for an investigation. Because let's say if it's low risk, then you can go to management and give management, a time period to have it fixed. But if it is a high risk, you don't want to give management a time to have it fixed. You want them to do it now. You want it to be able to be done now because tomorrow someone else could come there and they could have an injury caused to them. So that is why in assessing that you must be able to say what level of risk it is. So that it was just constructive purposes.
So, thank you. But let me tell you, I had two in my arsenal that I decided to share today. So that is how those two are going to be shared. So just give me a couple minutes to confer with my colleague as to who would have done the best presentation, and we will let you know. All right? It wouldn't take that long. Okay, Comrade. You know, when you see how judges involved, there's some level of subjectivity involved in it. After concern with my colleague, we have decided to award the diary to the last presentation from team 5, it was? Team 5. I think they came to answer closest to answering the question. You see, that is why. Oh, you don't know what one? Exactly. Right? And the other diary, I'm really sorry that we could not have given it to the we didn't have enough diaries to give to the whole team. I hope on the next occasion that we will have to share with the whole team. But let me don't mix things. The person who takes the role of leadership deserves the greatest recognition. The other diary goes to someone who would have stood out in terms of their presentation and their participation. And I want to welcome Occupational up in front. And I want to say something. I hope that they would have been, you all would have embraced the information that was shared with you. And again, as I said this morning, do not expect to be a professional just because of one session. It takes time. In fact, the act of itself, you could read that act 10 times, and trust me, every time you read it, you will find something new that you missed, and you will also find in it a new interpretation of what you read the first time. So be mindful of that. Because sometimes, and what you all did, it goes towards teamwork. That is what union strong means. We cannot progress in this life, and particularly now in this turnaround today. Civil Servant must be line 7 or 9. Because while they're opening up all of that and they say it is efficient, it's mindful that locals would have gone home to facilitate that. And it's one thing. And it still have workers on the compound who have to make sure that that line operates efficiently, because if it doesn't and some accident takes place, it ain't just the building that will be affected. It will be more workers potentially whose lives or limbs could be at risk. And that is just in one instance. We would have seen the other day where a worker from Warsaw lost their life in South while they were digging a trench collapsing on them. We would have seen those types of incidents happening. Simple things. And I always like to remind health and safety people. There was a judgment some years ago. Yeah, guy, I think it was on a roof in Pinal or someplace, was welding. And while he welding, there were electrical lines. It may be new, electrical lines running to the roof of the house. And he decided to go and weld there. Now, even though whether the worker would have refused and the boss tell him to go, or the boss tell him leave that, and he decided to want to play hero and happy and still went and do it, here what happened. The family went to the court in terms of workmen's compensation to file a civil claim. And the court said, we award the family $1 million. For the worker died, we award the family $1 million. But he had a responsibility to also mitigate his own personal protection. And because he went there, knowing that it was dangerous, we removed $450,000 from the judgment. So while it's something would have happened to him on the job, his family could have gotten $1 million because he took that risk, knowing that there was a risk there. The court said, removing $250,000. So the whole thing was worth $1 million. Because of his action, his family that he left behind suffered the loss of $250,000. So I want you to be mindful of that. And I also want to tell you what. You see, when the employer, you sit on a health and safety committee, don't let nobody come and ramrod no health and safety gears and equipment down your throat. Make sure that it is the appropriate standard. Because when something happens, you, the worker, is who will be, or the workers who represent is who will be affected by it. And when workers are given health and safety gears and equipment, make sure they wear it. The early days, to tell our employer, send them home. That was my attitude. Because of the fact that if the union is up in negotiations to make sure you get the best possible gear, and you taking it and selling it. So I know one of the things that I'm selling is boots, and you're selling it, or you're not wearing it to protect you. If you get injured, how is the union going to go and represent you in the face of you refusing to wear something that you were instructed to do? And worse yet, because you did that, you're indisciplined to cause other workers who work around you to also get injured. Because you may jump, realizing that you're in danger and you're not wearing your health and safety things, and a man could be standing up next to you, you pull you into the mix. All those are things that could happen. So we have to be very conscious of what we do. And there is no friend in that. In fact, if you are my friend, then you must be prepared to take criticism. And you must be prepared to hear me say, you're damn wrong. If you are my friend, you must also be prepared to tell me that too. Irrespective of what rank I hold. Because the boss can make the same mistake. Next thing you know, you get and nobody to pay. Okay? So I want to thank all of you who stayed back for staying and riding the test of time. Don't worry, it ain't the only one. I hope the others would have embraced what they heard this morning and they carry it forward. Excuse me. Would have embraced what they heard this morning and you would carry it back into your workplace, even in our home. Because sometimes COVID teaches you plenty. And you see that simple thing of interacting with people on the outside and taking off your shoes when you reach the door and washing your hands and whatnot from the day when you reach home before you touch anything else. My wife though, I don't even get a kiss until she doesn't wash your hands. It's so rampant and it teaches us a lot of lessons. And those are things that we have to carry forward in our own personal space. Because by you doing something, going in your workspace, and you have dangerous substances that you're touching or that you ignore, you carry it home with your whole family. And things that sometimes you don't even know you're touching. So out of an abundance of caution, make safety first. Okay, comrade? Given that I am one of the advocates for HIV and AIDS, and that includes wearing a condom, make safety first. Okay, comrades? I am going to turn you over now to my sister, Lambert Brito. But before I do that, I want to express to the men and women in the audience who are still here. There exists in this union a youth council, 35 and under, right? So ages 35 and under. Just say to spread the news. There exists in this council a women's council, and I will encourage you women to get involved in the women's council. The current president is Sister Carla Garcia, where she's based in the Sandy Granby office, but you can get information by communicating with Sister Anisha Parks. And there exists in this union a men's forum. I am the president of the men's forum, so I can talk to you directly. It is important for us men to understand that we still are held in a high esteem to maintain the traditional role of provider and protector. And there are many young women coming up there along the way, and women who exist right now as mothers and sisters and whatnot, who look to us to set examples for our younger brothers coming up the road, so that the women will be treated in the manner that God meant them to be treated. Right? And I say that because I know say, but I do know that one thing that would make us survive as a union and as human beings in this society in turn to the world is exist now, we must all be our brother's keeper. Men's forum is our way to do. So get involved. When the time comes, we have a chat available. You can argue onto the chat. You know, chat does go. It has those who would post things that might be relevant to you. But at the same time, when we have meetings and whatnot, our meetings are usually the last Friday of the month. This month we will not be having one on the last Friday, but outside of that, we will be functioning. So you will know any events we have coming up and whatnot. The last time we had someone from the Ministry of Health dealing with psychological issues of men. The next one we have coming up will deal with financial planning and whatnot. So that is where we are. Okay? So before I say, when I close off, please listen to Sister Lambert Brito. I want to thank all of you for coming today. And it was really a fruitful session because I see people engaging. You all enjoy yourself. We have to thank the communication department, the parks and the team for organizing it and making sure that people attend today. So give them a round of applause. And the administration and the executive of the union also, we must give them thanks for facilitating this event. I know it has been long overdue, and we have to give recognition where recognition is due. So thank you again, comrades. I will now turn you over to Sister Lambert.
One issue I thought you all would have highlighted was the issue where when workers are not given their PPE, that they come to work in slippers, three-quarter pants, and things like that. Now, it may not happen in all of the workplaces, but on a daily basis, almost every day, we get reports like that. A worker feels that if it is they were not given the PPE, I have a right to come to work and whatever and seems to come to work. When a worker calls me or comes to our office and says that, I ask them, if you are going into the industrial court or the high court, would you go in a slippers, three-quarter pants or vest? They wouldn't do it. And as Comrade said, what I highlighted just now, the law also speaks about your duty of protecting yourself. So if it is you get a report about a worker not being properly dressed within the workplace, a construction site, within a manufacturing sector where production is taking place and or spaces like that, your feet are supposed to be properly covered. You're not supposed to have any sleeveless and things like that. Take that into consideration because if it is there is an incident on the job and an investigation is done and they see that you had on a slipper, that would be taken into consideration as Comrade Clinton again said. That was the reason for the family losing on the judgment because he was not able to properly present himself within that time, right? So when it is workers come to you and their arguments for having those stuff or those wearing those things on within a workplace that I work on 2013 salary, management in the city, you have due process to follow also to ensure that you are protected within your workspace. As a trade unionist, we must be able to also correct our members when they are wrong. Upholding wrong sometimes can also work against union. So take into consideration if it is you're going to a meeting and you are going to argue, and you know that the worker is wrong, how are you going to argue that the worker is wrong? You wouldn't have an argument there. Because management will point out you were supposed to agree in that rep. Show him where he or she fell short. Okay?
So, thank you, Sister Vito. I just want to give Sister Vito a round of applause. And there's a person to the back. She stays quiet, but she makes sure that everything is organized to make sure people are comfortable and you're well fed and everything today. So could we give a round of applause to Shiva and her team? All right. So now for presentation time. National Trade Union Center, right? So we have to give recognition to our umbrella body because you know our media pages have been compromised. So the National Trade Union Center would have facilitated our ability to carry the meeting online, and we want to give them thanks also and pay recognition to them. So, Avenel, there's my Awi girl sister, long time running. She's a Tobago girl, from Trinidad. And I just wanted to know that, you see, when I made the thing about being subjective, I wasn't too subjective, which is the hard on she too when she falls short. But today, she shined out, and I'm sorry it's more that I have to offer. Congratulations, sister. And I want to thank you, and thank you for this second opportunity to be here. I have been edified because I'm so proud to be a shop here too. And with this today, hats off to NUGFW. Thank you. Thank you, sister. This is our brother Joel Thomas, who was the leader of the last team. I want to congratulate him. I really wish I could have been more proud. Thank you for your participation. Right. So, go ahead and close. So, all right. So you all are welcome to take copies of the brochures when you're leaving. And I will now declare our session on health, first session on health and safety meeting as a close. Thank you again, and I hope to see you all on the next occasion. Have a good afternoon and stay safe, everyone.